Can everyone hear us?
Yes. All right. Okay, we've recorded.
Yep.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Reading Planning Commission Workshop for Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. Here in the room with me in the third floor conference room at City Hall is Danny DeCoyo, James Harris, and myself. I am Wayne Dealer. I am the chairman. And online we have Nelson DeLeon and our vice chairman Wilson Feasy. Also online with us is Jerome Skrinkowski, our consultant. There we go. There's the word I'm looking for. Our consultant from Hawk Valley Associates. And I believe Donna Reed is also with us today. So that's great because we start with celebrating the 50th anniversary of Berks Nature, and with us is the executive director Kim Murphy, and she has a few things to go over with their planning for their next 50 years. Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to take a little bit of your time tonight. And I will be respectful in keeping it to 30 minutes or less. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And we decided to do 50 conversations for 50 years. She's also our solicitor, so. Wonderful. So my colleagues and I have been going throughout Berks County and having conversations with the public. In some cases, we've added on to an agenda item of a group like yours within the Reading Public Library, Hispanic Center, quite a number of organizations. And then in other cases, we're just holding open public meetings so people can come and chat with us a little bit about who we are and what we do, and talk to us about what's important to you relative to what we do or to the environment. So that's really my purpose here. I've been with Berks Nature for 20 years, and I have just a short presentation to go through a little bit. Are we ready?
Sorry,
It's all right.
These settings.
Next slide, please. So we like to talk about the fact that we are a nonprofit organization that protects nature and connects people to nature. So we do land protection, working with landowners to permanently protect their properties. We own some property as well that I'll share with you. We work a lot with farmers in Berks County to help clean up our waterways and to make their farms more profitable, and then connecting people to nature. How many of you know that we have a nature center in Reading at Angelica Creek Park? So we're very proud of that location and proud to serve city residents as well. We also have 9 urban gardens here in the city of Reading and quite an urban trail system. So we, as I mentioned, we do land protection. We do that primarily through a tool called a conservation easement, where a private landowner may want to protect the conservation value of their property. This also works with farms as well, but we don't do as much work on farms because the Berks County Ag Department does a lot of farmland protection. And what that conservation easement does is basically gives us the development rights. And then Berks Nature holds that in perpetuity. The landowner still owns their land. They might get a tax deduction for the value of the easement that they donated or that we purchased from them. And then we're responsible for monitoring that property on an annual basis. And if someone violates the easement, we're the ones who, protect that. So it's stronger than a deed restriction, if you think of a deed restriction. We also facilitate transfer of land. So sometimes, particularly with the Plain community, they may be interested in protecting their land, but they won't work with a governmental agency. And so we might help them protect their land and then turn that easement over to farmland protection, for example. And then we also acquire and steward properties as well. Next slide. So we own several preserves, Neversink Mountain being probably the closest to all of you and the largest. We have both outright ownership of some properties. We have agreements with private landowners. We have a system on Neversink, and then we also steward the land that the county owns as well. We have an Onalani Wetland Preserve, and then Bob's Woods at Earl Pool Sanctuary is at the headwaters of the Antietam Creek. That's a really nice, easy to hike trail if you have children or grandchildren, or you like to hike yourself. Of course, Angelica Creek Park, we're very proud of the restoration that has happened there and the odds that we're able to put on the park and the visitors we're able to attract. I was telling Wayne, we had over 15,000 visitors to the Nature Place last year. And then we have the Malleson Wildlife Sanctuary as well, which is in Robinson Township. And we have a gravity trail that connects Neversink Mountain to the Antietam Lake Park. So it goes through Pandora Park and so forth. We also have 4 watershed associations that are programs of Berks Nature. These watershed associations are located throughout the county, and they very actively work with their local municipalities. They do tabling events for us. They do water quality monitoring and testing. And of course, the Maiden Creek Watershed Association being one of the largest watersheds and the City of Reading water supply. This is one of my favorite maps. It's obviously a map of Berks County, and it represents the top 20% of conservation value in the county. So there's a lot of different layers of information that's gone into this. Endangered species, native species, watersheds, forested areas. So you can see along the top, the northwest portion of the county is the Kittatinny Ridge, which just received a statewide, maybe it was national, Sentinel landscape designation. It is an international bird flyway, of course, and a lot of very dense, important forest. Same the other red areas, the southeastern area is French Creek State Park. And then of course the Ole Hills to the right. And then we have, you can see Lake Onalani and some of the other features. So we prioritize where we work based on the conservation value. And this is something that helps us do that. This is a map of all the protected lands in Berks County. So that might be the county's ag land preservation easements, our easements, federally protected land, municipal land, state game lands. And right now about 25% of the county is protected. And our goal is to have 30% of the county protected by 2030. Because there's a lot of research that says you need about 30% of the land protected in order to maintain species and biodiversity. As I mentioned, we work with farmers a lot on their farms, primarily in the Maiden Creek watershed right now. We've leveraged millions of dollars into that watershed for farmers to do best management practices on their farms, like fencing, keeping the livestock out of streams, maybe barnyard gutters, that sort of thing. And this is a picture of our community gardens. As I mentioned, we have 9 community gardens in the city of Reading. About half are at Reading Housing Authority properties, and the other half we just purchased, land that was up for tax sale. This is the Nature Place. You can click to the next slide. We are We refer to ourselves as Reading's Nature Center, and the area that you see on the right-hand side was built and opened in 2017. And then for those of you who have been in the city a long time, you might recognize that the brown and stone small building that you look at straight ahead was actually the old boathouse at Angelica Creek or Angelica Lake. And that is the location of our preschool. And then we added what we refer to as the Rookery, which provides us with a space where we can have 150 kiddos for a field trip at a time. So we do have a very popular summer camp, which we started before we even built the nature center. We sold out this month or this year in a month. So that's over 100 kids every week who will come to the park. And our nature preschool, our kids are outside 75% of the day. We really believe spending a lot of time outside is important, and the kids really thrive, as you can see, getting very dirty on a daily basis. Okay. We do environmental education for adults as well as families and children. It's just that the kids are really cute. So based on what you've learned about our mission, and I realize that this was like Berks Nature 101, speed dating. What resonates with you out of what we do? What is important to you? Of our mission.
Well, I think being in like a densely populated area, having access to the outdoors, and green space, open space, and then also having the opportunity to have that kind of educational aspect. If you're in an area that has more open space and things like that, you're exposed to it a lot more. Whereas here, not really. So I think that access is really important, specifically to Reading.
I can add keep the connection with the nature. I love what I see so far, so keeping that connection is amazing.
One thing that, I'm not sure which hat I'm wearing at the time, but with some of the blighted properties, there's some communication about if we're demoing them, trying to make that connection to Berks Nature to do more community gardens in the city.
Yeah, we'd be delighted to work with you on more locations.
Yeah, sorry to say, Peter Rye is not here. He is our representative to blighted properties. But I will pass this on to Peter. God knows where he is. He might be in China again.
I feel that there were and I can't remember if these were official or unofficial conversation, but I know that that church that's on Perkiomen and Spruce. If you're in Reading, it's been falling apart. They had a partial demo, and there has been conversation about maybe it just needs to be completely torn down. But then the problem is that how that lot is situated and the angles of it and just the shape of the lot itself, it doesn't lend too much for any kind of redevelopment or anything. So if that church ends up getting demoed, it's right there on the corner. It might be a good spot, but I know that's thinking way.
Well, and I think it's a good opportunity for me to say as well that we believe in economic development and balance. So we don't seek easements in areas that are listed as growth or future growth on the county plan. We don't want to protect the donut hole in the middle of an area where there might be infrastructure and an inappropriate place for development to happen. But certainly where, if it's appropriate to redevelop, then we would encourage you to do that. But if not, let's think about, other ways to use the space for sure.
And the nice thing about that specific area is that it's pretty close. It's pretty close to the branch of the library.
Yep.
There, the branch of the library is just down on Perkiomen Avenue.
Yeah, it's about a block or two from the
Yeah.
library.
That's
Yes, and that's a nice branch.
Well, and I think Reading is fortunate in that you really do have, you know, with the mountains on, kind of surrounding the city and the river. There is, and their trail system, I'm not sure that everybody avails themselves of it, but there are some natural resources that are accessible and available.
Actually, for the trail system, I think. Well, they already went to zoning hearing board, so you know about it. Organization called New Cold on. Dana South,
Hmm.
where the bottling is supposed to go. We've already had discussions with them about completing the Burks Trail through there. And getting online with the,
Schuylkill River Greenways?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that project has been a project for, I mean, I've been working on it for almost 20 years too, but as you know, Norfolk Southern is a really great partner to work with. So we've had difficulty getting the legal access to that property pretty much between RAC and that site.
well, they're gonna put in a new railroad spur.
Oh, great.
And therefore, all that track that Norfolk Southern owns, but they're not gonna use it anymore. Once that spur goes in, and then New Cold says, yeah, let's bring the trail in.
Oh, good.
So that's something we'll be working on. They are scheduled to be coming up here to us soon. Because they just went. They
got their approval for zoning, it's just a matter of them submitting for their land development.
So,
Well, and that's evidence of the kind of influence that you all can have on, you know, what is getting developed in the cities, including green space and trails and access, for sure.
and I just wanted to mention, two things also, you know, the farm easement. Thing is, that's huge, I think, among Pennsylvania. Counties, we're farther ahead than most.
Berks County is third, I think, in the nation. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the other thing that I wanted to say was that, first phase of building, the Berks Nature Building at Antietam Creek was quite difficult because of the federal government changing the floodplain all the time. And a bunch of other things that we had to go through, but, the people at Berks Nature persisted, and then when they did their addition, you know, that was actually a very straightforward through process because we did all the homework beforehand.
Well, and we really appreciate the trust that you put in us because, you know, somebody coming in and saying, hi, I want to build a nature center in your park. But I think it's just the park is healthier, people are using it, it's safer, there's lighting. It's great, so. If we were successful in raising a large amount of money, maybe $100 million or so. And we're thinking about this in a couple of different ways, maybe talking with the county about doing a referendum for a bond that might fund forest protection or some other things. Is there a particular environmental initiative that you would like to see prioritized in something like that? Or, you know, how might you want to see that invested?
I think farm preservation remains the highest priority, because if you look at COVID-19, it gave us a lesson of how, you know, countries can survive or cannot survive based on food security. I think as a nation, that's a big priority that we have us if we can have a farm.
So here, please.
Yeah.
Kind of along the same vein of that is, you kind of saw a lot more people kind of do this homesteading, urban farming type of thing. I know that some of the content creators I follow on like TikTok and Instagram, they've actually taken advantage of community gardens and stuff like that, where they bought a plot or two and they plant some of their produce there. So something like that. And you say that we have some gardens, just expanding on that. I have this like ideas like, oh, maybe that where that pool used to be over on the south side on 14.5 Street, just make that a whole big urban farm right there in the middle of the city. And have plots where people can, grow their own food in a small plot. Especially with how expensive groceries are.
Especially since, luckily we have the executive director of, Parking Authority with us today. The Parking Authority did take a look at that property, and they viewed it as, too expensive to be able to put urban parking lot in there. Which the slope of that area, I can believe it.
Super steep.
Yeah.
Anybody have any other thoughts?
Yes. I'm coming for, 524 Douglas Street. I want to know what kind of window the city
Oh, that's the heart.
requests.
This is the
Oh,
planning commission.
You're in the wrong meeting.
I'll take it down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no, okay.
I'm very sorry.
I could tell you, but it would take a while. Since I live in Center Park, I just had my windows replaced.
Oh, then I need to talk to you too, because I live in Center Park. I think- I really think I'm more basic, because I walk around the city a lot, because I'm very little, I can see Mark. Maybe just an initiative to keep the city clean. Trash cans that are easily accessible. My daughter's now 17, but I remember when she was little, I lived in Indiana, they talked about recycling a lot, co-mingling things. So, just the kids force their parents to do it because they do it like bullying. Kitchen, you throw out the ball, use their own trash can. So something like that, where I moved to the city, I only have one trash can. I know recycling happens. I don't have any recycling bins. I really don't even know how that works. So maybe something that rolled out citywide about how to recycle, how to keep the cities clean. There are tons of garages here that do repairs on cars. Who knows where they're dumping them? The fluids. A buddy of mine had a garage many years ago in Jersey. Walmart bought the property. Turns out it could only be a parking lot because all the oils were into the groundwater and things like that, but that Jersey. So I think something that just keeps the city clean, simple to roll out, education in the schools, starts with the little ones, they grow up with it. No littering campaign, something that you're not seeing garbage on the street, goes a long way. I know gardens, which I thought are hard to sustain. Hard to maintain once that person leaves, or during the summer, it's a school-based project, but something that just keeps the city, the walkways clean. Is would go a long way.
That is probably one of the number one things that we hear from city residents is, just beautification and wanting to get rid of the trash. And of course, what's on the land affects the water. And we find that even though the Reading Area Water Authority has very good quality water, a lot of city residents are very skeptical, whether that's because of where they have historically lived, the water's not good, or if the pipes in their own house aren't great. And so trying to make that connection between trash and water is something that we've been trying to do. There is a group of citizens who are interested in single-use plastic ban. I don't know if that's something that the city would be supportive of or consider. We're just starting to kind of put folks together on that. I know the bodegas, it may be hard for them because, but maybe if we could get over the hurdles of what is difficult for them to actually help that. Because I know Bethany Harris Fisher, we work with frequently, and she said like styrofoam and plastic bags are like one of the number one things they are cleaning up on the streets of Reading.
We still have the painted trash cans. I was just thinking of a connection. Years ago, I'm sorry, I don't have a voice, I'm sorry. It's not the audience, it's me, or the microphone. Years ago, the Public Works had taken the old trash cans. And it might be part of your summer program or something, like put handprints or rainbows and set them throughout.
Yeah, because I think Wood Wonderful at Ninth and is that Ninth? Well, Ninth, right close to Ninth and Spring. There, Eighth and Spring, actually. The next to St. Joseph's Catholic Church. They actually took over the program from the city, but I don't think they are doing it anymore.
I don't know, but.
Because the last time I got a trash can, I got it from them,
Yeah,
but
okay,
that was since 23 now, it must be 10 years.
that would track, yeah.
But like make some, like kids decorating, put them in the parking areas and. So there is a trend, you know,
And then also
and an educational aspect of it.
an educational aspect, because I have a trash can out in front of my place because of the bus stop. I have a very heavily used bus stop. But still, my yard looks like a landfill because all the people from the Turkey Hill not going to the trash can,
Yeah.
they dump their trash in my side yard.
That's nice.
Yeah,
They're sharing.
which I don't understand, because if you go to Pittsburgh had this like cleanup thing. I've talked to Bethany about this.
And they just did a bag ban, single-use plastic ban in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh's immaculate. You cannot believe how clean that city is. It's almost as clean as Berlin. It's amazing. And it's because they had a program. They had a very successful program. And all the details are available on our website, but it's like a 50-page
Oh, yeah, right.
documentation.
You see, I think, so everything, well, a lot of things in Pittsburgh, it's community related, involves some sort of cleanup. So if you're doing community barbecue, well, we clean up, you know, they bring the bags, they bring the box, they bring the shovels, they bring the rakes, they're always cleaning up. So no matter what they're doing, I mean, I was a school superintendent in Allegheny County, and we would do community events, carnivals events. It involved some sort of cleanup, just how it was.
Yeah.
Something to do, so,
Part of the culture,
yeah, if you're doing a food drive, it's clean up, then you eat.
I do know, the Reading Rugby men's and women's team, they actually just did a full cleanup of Pandora Park. And they signed an agreement with the city to maintain it. So,
It's the next week. And just, you know, we're at a half an hour, so I don't wanna take any more of your time, but thinking about climate change. We champion the fact that Reading has a climate action plan. I think it's really great. You're leading the way, and we hope that the county and maybe other communities can create one as well. Any particular things that you're concerned about relative to climate change or extreme weather here in the city?
just the frequency and the intensity of them. I was actually just talking with a coworker earlier, it's, you know, you're supposed to have 100-year storms that are happening, but now they're happening every 5-10 years. And, you know, our stormwater system hasn't been updated since the 80s, I believe.
Yeah, there are sections of it that are still original to the turn of the 20th century.
Yeah, so, you know, we don't have that much recovery time in between big events. So, you know, it rains for 10 days straight, and then you get maybe 2 days of sunshine, and then it rains for another 2 weeks. So there isn't that much of a recovery period in between, and then they get more and more intense. So instead of like a Cat 3, it's a Cat 5 every so often. So especially with us being so dense, you know, if the streets flood, you can't drive, you can't walk anywhere. what happened, there was that one flood when the river flooded and all those homes along Second Street flooded. So those are kind of what I think about whenever I think about how this affects us immediately.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point because, most of RAG is in the floodplain. And they have done with their upgrades to the old social security building. It's called Birchall, I think, but now they've renamed it because it's now that they're nursing. It's the center of their department. When they came to us, they showed that they must have spent nearly $1 million to get everything that was on the first floor up to the second floor. All the electrical cabinets and all the stuff that should have been put on the second floor when they built the building, but since being a federal building, of course.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I was just there. So.
Yeah, they did a lot of work to make sure that that building would not be damaged from flooding. Like it was in 2006, I think was last.
I will just part with anything that you think we're doing that we shouldn't do, or anything that we're not doing that you think we should do.
Do adult camps.
You know, I have some adults on my board who are like, we want yours, we want yours. So, we'll have to think about that. Would you,
Go ahead, Will.
you can take the.
I appreciate that the community card came up and the city posted. I'm trying to encourage what can we do we're supposed to encourage nature given our subsistence on the community card. What can we do? Planning to promote that. And then piggyback with these other was a couple of years ago, very good relationship with but at least for now, we can really card.
Yeah, thank you.
I didn't realize Burger State ran.
Well, we run some, I think there may be other organizations that run some of the other ones. We would like to get our program larger just to have scale. Right now, we have a seasonal part-time staff person, and if we could get it to where that person is full-time, I think we might be able to serve more. And we've had conversations with the city about the use of the renovated greenhouse when that happens. Although I think at least my understanding is the city wants to sort of do that themselves, but we're an option if you need an organization who might be able to manage that, much like, our partnership at Angelica Park. So, yeah, we'll keep moving on the gardens. All right.
Thanks, Will.
Okay, I've taken up enough of your time. My card is in the packet. Our new 50th anniversary publication is in there. It gives you an idea of the timeline of our history, and please don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything else that we can help you with. So,
Kim, this is Jerome.
Go ahead, Jerome.
Yeah, sure. We just want to let you know that we initiated efforts on a comprehensive plan. We're doing the community assessment efforts at this time. So we're definitely going to include you when it comes to the environmental and ecological preservation efforts, as well as the sustainability component of the plan. Like I said, we're taking the first few steps. We're looking at the plans that we previously had either adopted or prepared within the city of Reading, which there was a lot of good value within them. So we're going to attempt to see what we can take in order to establish the goals, objectives, and policies of the plan. But we would like to consider you as a key stakeholder in this project.
Sure, happy to help.
Would you like to be, my apologies, would you like to be copied on any agenda so you know what's coming down the pike, and if you think there's anything that you guys would, but like the warehouse development with the Schuylkill Trail, like, would you like to be added to the agenda so you kind of know what's going on? Or just,
I don't know that that's necessary,
Please,
but just
something.
know that we're a resource if you see something that you think, oh, maybe Berks Nature can help us with that. We've been helping with the forest protection program plan on Mount Penn. And you know, we're available to help, so. Thank you all very much for your time and for your service. I know it's, you know, not very glorified, but very important.
and just, Kim actually sits on the planning commission in her hometown, so she understands your.
Feel your pain. Yeah, I kid, it's fun. I enjoy it very much, so. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Caitlin. Okay, I'm sorry, Nelson, did you have anything?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay,
Good job,
just
Cam.
making sure. Oh, and I see Jamie has joined us too, so this is great. We now move on to a discussion with the Executive Director, Rafael Batista of the Reading Parking Authority. And just so Mr. Batista knows, Jamie Baez is our representative from City Council. District 2, Jamie?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's District 2. I turn over the floor to Mr. Batista for his introduction, and then we will go on with our discussion.
Sure. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me here. My name is Rafael Batista, Executive Director of Parking Authority. Actually, today I just came to learn about everything you guys have for me. I don't bring anything specifically to speak about. Just try to join, many ways as possible with all the city group of people so we can work together. So my main focus, whenever meeting I go, I'm gonna keep saying the same thing. I believe on the previous speech, she said about education. I believe education is the main key for us to understand our role or to understand other people's role. So for parking authority, I know it's a big challenge, many years. I would like to change some expectation from people and see how we can work together as a teamwork. I know there's so many challenge for many districts or places, especially downtown. Reading is the most focused place that everyone is looking at. So my main goal is to have better education program to our employees and also the citizens. So here I am. Any question I can answer, please. If I don't have the answer, I will search and I get back to you guys.
Good, go ahead. We'll start with Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily. I'm a zoning officer. So one of the things whenever we do like adaptive reuse projects or any kind of residential projects, there is a parking requirement. I know with the transit oriented development overlay that we're working on and trying to revamp the downtown, we really want to get more residential down there. I know I see tons of buildings that have potential to have many apartments in there. But the problem is, although we try to reduce the dependence on vehicles, the truth is people are dependent on them currently. Maybe that'll change when the train comes in, we don't know, but there is a need for parking for these developments. My biggest question is, having seen some of the residential leases that people get for these projects, how do you kind of manage those leases when there are special events? Because the way those leases are worded is that it's not that those spaces will 100% always be available to them. If there's an event and the parking lot gets full and someone comes in later in the day or has to leave and come back, they're not guaranteed that a spot will still be open in the lot. So how, I guess, what are your plans to kind of balance that? And what's the capacity to continue issuing these residential leases in the current lots that we have? Are there any thoughts of adding more floors, more facilities? Your thoughts, I don't know if you've gotten to that point.
Yeah, and actually today I have a nice conversation with someone, talking about downtown. Yes, I'm gonna focus on downtown. We have 8 garages. So when you're looking at downtown, I believe most of the people in downtown is only the 400 to 600 block. But downtown is more than that. So we have garage from street to up to Cherry or South Bend. So those garages, when you focus on them, like from street, we have 700 space in that garage over there, 725 space, and it's empty. So when you come 1 block up, Second and Washington, there's another big, huge garage over there. It's 75% empty. When you continue going up, we have Cherry and Ford. Actually, that is like 50 to 45% empty. So I don't think the problem is that we don't have the space. I believe, once again, it's education. I believe when people focus on 1 garage, I believe everyone is focused on convention center, which is full. Poplar and Walnuts, which is full. So when you focus on those 2 garage, yes, there is a problem. We don't have any space, but we have garage, we have lot, we have places. Now, talking about solution, I don't come over here to speak about problems. Solution, I believe there is another way we can solve the situation. If we cannot bring garage or places to the customers, let's bring the customer to our location. So we have so many programs, phases I'm working on, just looking at busy cities, how they manage their problem, how New York, how Philly is working with those situations, how Las Vegas is working with those situations, how the main airport, like Philadelphia, Newark, is working with those situations. They have some transportation so they can bring the customer to their location, to the parking garage, and bring up to, to wherever they want. So I'm working on so many projects at this moment to use what we have. At this moment, we cannot say we're gonna build more garage. To build 1 garage of 235 space, it's cost like over $3 million. Besides zoning situations, zoning problems, we have cost situation. So I believe it's education. If we can educate our people to help us, because city is not new city, it's not a new town, it's not a new place. It's a 100-year city. When Reading was built, I believe the vision was to stay in the same side. Now we grow up for so many sides of 100 years back. So I believe we need to work with what we have on hands. And I believe we have the potential. Of course, as soon as we get opportunity to continue build or have more lots, we're gonna take advantage of those things, especially in the city of the downtown. But I believe if we invest in education, which is my main focus is educate, how I say in the beginning, our employees first, then the community, to use what we have. Now, remember something. Zoning, if I want to accommodate 1 person, that means I have to think about other person is gonna be maybe unaccommodated. So it's the kind of thing, we're trying to see what is the solution that benefit most, not only one particular portion of place. So this is, I don't know if that is a long answer about your question, but I believe we need to see the future, we need to see the vision, how we can use what we have without stop the growing that the city is doing now.
I do see Jamie, did you have something you wanted to ask, Jamie?
Yeah, I would like to ask, I think it's a twofold question. I just want to confirm it because I'm curious to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. Mr. Batista, are you suggesting that residents park to a further garage and then walk to their residence? Is the first part.
No, what I suggested, no, thank you, Jamie. And I believe when we talk about event, this is my main focus now, event. I know we talk about residential situation, of course, we need to find solution for residential. But what if we have one big event? The event is taking places for residential to be parked. So my main concern is not about short solution, it's a long solution, long-term solution. So our big problem is when we have events in the city that we don't have any available parking. Now, if you see, when there is no event, you can count how many problems we have on parking. It's no problem. It's no problem. So I believe our main problem is because we having so many events and we need these events, we need it because it's part of the growth, the economic growth. So if we find solution, Jamie, for event parking, I believe that it's gonna be helpful for a citizen or resident to have the parking without being occupied.
So that shuttle option would have been like someone that wants to go to the arena, they can park at that lot, across from the IMAX
Correct.
and then get shuttled up closer.
Correct. That's one solution. So we're looking.
So that was my
ways
second
how
part of
we
my
can-
question. The second part of my question was, are you then suggesting a future solution of having transportation from garages to events?
Yeah, actually, this is only on my mind at this moment. It's not a big project coming up, but this is part of the solution I'm looking at. At this moment, I'm looking how other cities, how other places have been working with those problems and get the solutions. So I believe that could be one of the solutions.
I recommended about probably 3 years ago now. It's before COVID, so it might even be 4 years ago. That we should have a shuttle service. But it should also include West Reading because they have a terrible parking problem. We could, the people who visit West Reading, we could fit them all in the front and Washington garage.
Right.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then they could take a shuttle bus, go over to West Reading and come back. But the other great thing would be the shuttle bus would go up and down Penn Street, so they could eat in West Reading and go to an event at the arena or at the Performing Arts Center.
Yes.
That was shut down pretty quickly. Even though that's probably the solution that's going to happen. Remember, in the 50s, we had trolleys. In the 40s and 50s, we had trolleys in this city.
See, but the one thing, as someone who grew up in the Philadelphia area and moved out about 10 years, I was in Indiana, my sister was in Nashville. We would joke about, aren't you getting homesick in Philadelphia? I said, put on parking wars. And we're all laughing, right? Parking wars is in 2 cities, Detroit and Philadelphia. Remember the boot on South Street, back in the 80s and 90s? And I saw a buddy of mine was college getting booted and towed over. Like, hey, that's Bill. I'm parking. This is great. We're loving it. I don't want to go back. Parking is an experience that individuals have when they visit an area that they're not familiar with. I at Santander probably about 4 or 5 times a week. We're at the hotel. The other day, they had prom, wedding prom, and a concert. My daughter was at the wedding prom, I was over at a concert across the street. They shut down Penn Street. So a shuttle is tough. Whenever there's a large concert at Santander, police shut down Penn Street from like 8th, 7th, 8th, all the way up to
Yeah,
the 9th.
that's right.
People don't arrive on time. They're in line for a good 20, 30 minutes over on Cherry, trying to get into that garage in the back. Parking over at the IMAX, where I park for the movies, great, they're not gonna do that. Because you have to make the environment between the IMAX and Santander walk. It's not walkable. I would never have my daughter walk from the IMAX where she used to work to meet me at the arena. I said, I'm not gonna have to do it, you're 17 years old, I'm not gonna have to do it, wouldn't have anyone do it. So parking has to be, change has to be in conjunction with other things that are happening. I was at city council meetings where local businessmen came in and complained about parking in front of their shops, plug. He came in, great guy came in and said, I have trouble with my customers trying to park. I go to a few restaurants in this city, not this city, other cities. Loading zones, parking, that experience. I had to have customers get up and go about 5 feet the meter. But they had to move their car out because there's a parking rule, they couldn't just feed the meter. Saying that is, what you do has a great impact on the experience that people have who are not from this city. All right. So I would just be cautious on implementing anything. Like on my street, I live on Douglas Street. They put some rule in where you had to buy a permit, if you're familiar with it. People went crazy. There's a petition went around, I think they, repealed it. I know what you're trying to do. There's too many people living on the street with multiple cars. But it blew up. All I'm saying is before you do anything, we don't have garages that are convenient. It's like when I take my daughter to Starbucks, or she invites me to Starbucks, and when they ring it up, she backs away from the register. Because she has money at home, but she has the money in her pocket. Saying we have enough parking spots in the city that are not or conveniently located, it's not a golden garage. So Santander, the Performing Arts Center, the hotels, street festivals. I would hope that parking authority is in those initial planning meetings when they're planning these events to get your input. Because if you're not, then that's a misstep right there. You should be a part of every city event, knowing the logistics, knowing the volume of people who are going to come into the city, so that you could say, okay, you know what, we have a garage over here. Let's create a path or a way to get these people to directly go park over there. That's what I hear from people from Santander all the time coming up. We didn't know where to park. We don't know where we are. They're totally confused. They come out from Lancaster, they come from the city. As far as New York with these events, they don't know their way around the city. So they need something that says, this is how you get from here to here. This is where we eat. And they come with all day Christian shows. Where do we eat? Where do we go? We don't have to cheerlead.
Actually, if
the
you
wrestling
go,
events.
if you go to Reading Parking website, I believe all the information is there. Where to find parking, how to park, everything is there. Once again, there is problems. There is many problems, not only about parking in the city, but talk about parking. What are we going to do? We can sit together and see this is parking problems or this is the city problems. So when I talk about solution, I'm willing to sit with all the council members one by one. I have no problem and see exactly what is their need on their location, on their, the neighborhood. We can try to find solution individual for each one. But this is, at the end of the day, it's a teamwork. If we want solution like zoning, we try to build more lot, right? The neighborhoods where they need parking. But we have zoning situation. So until we don't realize that this is one common problem for all, we will not get any solution. Now, solution for a long time problem cannot come on 1, 2, 3 days. There's planning, there's many things can be done. So once again, I have to always go back to the beginning. I believe education is gonna be the first thing to our people in Reading first. People in Reading first. Because it doesn't matter what we do as an authority, a parking authority. If the people, our people don't follow the rules, they're gonna be double parking, they're gonna be using whatever way they want because they don't have that education. So I believe in order for us to start doing making some changes, have to come for education. So solution will come with education. If I go to Philly, if I go to New York, what is the first thing I go? I go on Google. Where can I park? So you don't think people who comes to Reading will do the same thing? And we have everything on our website. So we need to realize that in order for us to get solution, we need to come together. It's no way parking authority will be solving parking problems by itself. It's no way. So today I'm talking with you guys, but I have no problem to speak with other bodies, with the city council members, and say, what could we do together to solve many problems we have in the city? Actually, this is the reason I'm here for, to see how could we do better together.
I think just really being part of all the conversations, that things are occurring.
Yeah.
You know, like, were you part of the conversation with the proms? Daniel Boone had one, Reading had one over the last few days, when there was events at Santander where there's 8,000 people coming in. And then you know 1,500 to 2,000 coming to the hotel. If you're not part of those conversations, or some of your organization's part of this conversation,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah, actually, for every event, talking only about the event, we have the schedule month ahead on every single event that the arena is having. So we prepare in advance for every single event. But I hope, I wish, it's my wish, to see 5-star service on the parking on one event. We're working on it. So a few months ago, if you remember, we have some vandalism problem. People go into the garage and break windows. So what was our solution? Instead of have only 5 people to handle those events, now we have up to 15 people. So we're investing more, yes, to be making sure that people have a good experience, not only in the show, but in the service that we provide as a city. So we are part of it. We are in communication with the police more closely than before, because we want to work as a team to provide that service to the visitors and the residents. But it's gonna take some time. I will not say, they have some political promise that I solve that. No, I will not solve that in 1 2 years. That's gonna take some time. Yeah, and I believe by looking always, I open to suggestion. One of the things I speak with my team, say, let's be open for any suggestion, because we need to listen. We need to hear from people, from the city, see what is the problem. That's the only way we can solve situation. It's not in our own circle or own work. It's going with the people, see what is needs.
I would say, whenever you get to a point where you're actually trying to put in motion something like a shuttle for special events and stuff, partner with BARDA. See if there's a way, if you park at the lot across from the IMAX, they get a free shuttle up. For special events, I know New York did it, I don't remember what other cities do it, but, they were experimenting with, carless like plazas where they blocked off whole blocks just to make them walkable. So I do agree with what James said about, that area, I wouldn't walk it in broad daylight. I mean, one, it's just boring, honestly. So I think that's also something maybe we need to have a conversation with when we start building up, actually implementing whatever plan they come up with for downtown economic development and things like that. You should definitely be at the table for that to see how Reading Parking Authority can help with that, you know, if it means diverting the traffic instead of going completely through downtown, diverting them to these other lots. And then providing that shuttle service to actually then get into the city center. It's an idea.
You know, there's a huge, I'm sorry.
No, it's so interesting, you're both, you say about walking Penn Street, because do you remember Albert Boscoff sitting in front of us in 2010, saying, we're gonna anchor the IMAX hotel, so you can walk?
Yeah.
That was in 2010.
Wow.
Right, and I think part of that, well, since that time, we've had a number of changes. For one thing, we don't have the downtown improvement district anymore.
Right, but I just remember, because when they brought that up, that's just,
Right,
I
but,
sit here and said that.
and the other thing that was high on Al's agenda was getting more restaurants. So that you could walk from restaurant to restaurant. Just quite don't have that yet. The positive thing, though, is that with the city upgrades of the lighting on Penn Street to LED, Penn Street is much better lit than it was back then, which was a major concern that everyone had. So now, the question is, how do you make it more walkable? There's a guy named Eric Stern, I believe. Jerome might remember. He's from Baltimore. He's the ultimate guy on talking about walkability in urban centers.
Jeff Speck.
Jeff Speck, that's who it is. Yeah, he's the ultimate guy, but I think what is it, the maximum walking area is 4 blocks. I believe.
It's been a while since I've read these.
So, so those are things that we have to.
So Jamie did have a question, if.
Emily,
if
I
you
did
noticed-
wanna,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to sorry, I wanted to chime in and say, like, Mr. Batista, I think this is a great conversation. I'm really enjoying hearing like the goal of having 5 stars, right? So that when people review the parking authority or they look at the city, we want everyone to see us as 5 star. You know what? If there's 10 stars, give us 10 stars, right? And so I just wanted to point that out. And I think that when asking for confirmation or asking questions, that's so that way we can get a better idea of where you're at and kind of what we can suggest. Like your suggestion about a future solution of having transportation from garages to events, as everyone has been talking about, that's like phenomenal. I love that idea, and working, I think Emily's point, working with the bus station at BARDA is very going to be crucial to maybe trying to figure that out. And any way that I can be supportive, I mean, feel free to reach out. I think that this is a great conversation. So
Thank you.
Raphael, this is Jerome. We just prepared, or we're in the final draft stage, and it hasn't been adopted yet, but have completed comprehensive amendments to the parking and loading section of our zoning ordinance, which is part 16. As part of that effort, we worked with the Reading Parking Authority. We met on 2 or 3 occasions to go over some of the ideas. Are you familiar with that, or have you do you have a copy of the current draft, which it hasn't been adopted yet, but we would like to make sure that everyone is supportive of that effort.
I would like to have a copy if you don't mind.
Okay, we'll get you a copy of that, and if there's any questions of that, we'll get you up to speed as quick as possible. But they were comprehensive. We were dealing with significantly older regulations that created more problems than they tried to resolve. But so we think that we're on the right path, and the parking authority did have a lot of input, as I mentioned, with creating some of those provisions, but yeah, we'll get you that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so we started that process with the previous director, and of course, things always fall through the cracks when you move from one director to another.
Yeah.
Which also brings us to who was it? Who was it, Jerome? Simone Collins did the parking?
Yes,
Uh,
it was for the TOD. They had made recommendations with respects to our adaptive reuse policies as well as our parking issues.
So there was, I don't know if the report was ever finished. A lot of stuff.
The parking stuff?
Yeah,
I think that was
Yeah.
completed, but I don't know if the summary page was ever drafted.
The VOD overlay, that was that has not been adopted or completed at this point, but I think Raphael should get a copy of that because it did make specific recommendations relating to parking within the central core.
and according to the zoning ordinance, parking in central core is your responsibility. You are supposed to own every single spot in the commercial core. That's what the zoning ordinance says. There are supposed to be no private lots, but the city has broken that over the years.
Yeah, Raphael, what it does
Upsets
is,
me to no end. Go ahead, Drew.
yeah, Emily can help me out with this as well. In the central core, we do not have requirements for parking. It's basically you find the Reading Parking Authority's
So,
lots.
yeah, in the commercial core and commercial residential, which is the areas kind of directly adjacent to the commercial core downtown area. We don't have parking requirements for non-residential uses. We do still have parking requirements for residential dwelling units. And that's where some of the amendments will kind of help because, you know, we can't build more lots. And so kind of expanding on how far away the lot can be from a dwelling unit. And so that's part of the amendment, but we, unfortunately, however you wanna look at it, we do have kind of a distance limit between where someone can have parking for their residents or their tenants in their apartments. Right now it's 300 feet. I know with the amendments, we're expanding it a little bit, and I think the most grace is within the commercial core, which helps out because all these buildings, you know, on the 400 and 500 block specifically, you have them all with commercial on the first floor, and there's so much potential to fill those in with apartments on the upper floors. But like you said, there's only so much space at the arena lot or the Franklin Street lot and the one on Poplar and Walnut. And so giving them that a little bit more distance to maybe they'd be able to reach the one on along Second Street.
And I believe there is a conversation now, on a conversation, the 500 block, Fifth and Penn, I believe they're planning to do some commercial space over there. We are on the conversation what to do it, to build another garage over there, which is gonna be with 235 spaces. We are in the conversation about the 400 to 600 block of Penn. You know, there is a project that is gonna come up soon. That project is gonna be adding 166 more space right the Penn Street along. So I think Penn Street is gonna be more walkable. It's gonna be more busier. Busy. New commercial is gonna be open over there. When I came, just let me throw that over here. When I came to the city already about 6 years ago, my first impression was walking to the Penn Street one Sunday at 4 o'clock. Sunday at 4 o'clock. That was in a winter time. everything was closed. Everything was shut down. And I spoke with my wife at that time. I said to my wife, don't ever let me come back to this city. Because I believe the first impression as a visitor is impacting your soul. So I understand exactly what you mentioned that. And I believe for me to go to that experience, if what I want to do, what I can do to make that experience different than what I have when I came first grade. So for sure, the 10 blocks like between the 200 to the 600, 700 block, there's gonna be many difference as what we see today. So don't get surprised if once that Penn Street is gonna be only walkable. Don't be surprised. Because the way how I see things, that's gonna be the future. It's gonna be a painful problem later after the fact, but I believe with so many projects, so many people try to invest in Reading, we have a huge opportunity to make a lot of things different. Of course, parking is part of the solution. What we're going to do with so many new building apartments, whether residential apartment, new blocks of commercial building, it's challenging. But I believe we are on the right track. We having that conversation. I cannot say much because it's still in conversation, but I believe there is solution. There is solution. I just once again, I'm open to suggestion. If you ever don't have to be in a meeting, if you ever wants to come to our office, yes, please be there and say, listen, I know we have that situation. I believe we can do that. I will really appreciate that type of conversation with everyone in this room.
Something that I mentioned to Ms. Murphy. If you have any interest in building, always look at the blighter property. Because that's something that we can work on getting this properties more reasonable.
Okay.
Get them to the redevelopment authority, and they have the ability to sell them, turn them over to you at a more reasonable basis. So I know there's one building right now that's huge. The address tells me at the moment. They get a demolition notice, the building should really come down. That would be a potential good location for a parking lot. And it may be something you can get more reasonable, right, on the market. So
That's the type of relationship, that's the type of partnership I'm looking for, where we can get solution together. That's all what I look for. I don't look to be named, to have my name. This is not me. I'm looking for solution. I'm looking to see what we can do together to make difference in the city. It's all about the resident, it's all about the visitors. So please, go on my partnership. This is what I'm looking at.
blighted property hearings are coming up the next 2 weeks. Just this will be published, so if there's something on there. Do you think might be interested?
Yes.
Let it be known, and
I will,
we can try to work.
I will for sure.
That means some are small lots, some are larger lots.
Just wanted to check with you as we think about the idea of transport units. Do you have any kind of plan or policy that is helping you, to implement some of these ideas that we are thinking about, and probably you have been thinking about as a person, or you're basically doing this based on the experiences that you have?
Okay, thank you for that question. There is so many open projects I have to follow up and close. So when I came to Reading, there was so many parking authority. There was so many open projects. So I look in each project and see what is work to continue, what is work to go to the end of the line. So at this moment we have 4 different lots that I would like to start working on them. That is gonna cost some money for the authority, and it's gonna take some time to accomplish, but it's gonna be beneficial for the residents. So what I'm doing is go case by case, whatever I have open, whatever I got like find open on our, I can say, folder. That's my focus, try to accomplish whatever I have open. Then if there is an opportunity, a new opportunity brought up, of course, I'm gonna take advantage of that opportunity. So at this moment, I'm looking for a lot to buy. But at the same time, I'm looking to accomplish all the lot that we already purchased, but we haven't done anything yet with them. So this is case by case, it's day by day.
Which might be a good segue into what Peter Rye, our representative of Blight Properties, is not here today, but Peter and I were talking about this with the head of Sonony Collins the other day. That we submitted all this information for the parking study, and I don't think most of it even got in. Most of it even got in there. So here it goes. One thing that Peter and I agree on, and I'm sure a few other people here, is that we see that the parking authority does not maintain their parking garages. So when you go to a parking garage and try to use the elevator, oftentimes they don't work. And they smell, yes, they smell horrendous. And then as you mentioned, the front Washington garage looks like a blighted property.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's not a positive thing for people who are coming. The other problem is, for example, like the Reed Street garage. All your rented spaces are on the first 2 floors. Okay, if I'm coming into town and I want to shop on Penn Street, I have to go up to the 3rd floor. And then because the elevators often don't work in that garage, I have to walk down. When the ultimate thing would be, you pull into the Reed Street garage, you park on the 1st floor, you walk out the back door into the plaza. And then from there, you can either go to 6th Street, Penn Street, Court Street. That's the garage I almost always use. But it's a pain in the ass to use because the first 2 floors are rented. And most of those people don't even use the damn spaces anyway, because the spaces are always open. So it's like totally frustrating to go up 2 levels. When those 2 levels, there's nobody parked there. I always suggest if you're going to rent parking spaces, you put them on the top floors. Rent those spaces on the top floors and have because most of those people they come in, they park the car, it's there all day if they're renting a space. Unlike people who are shopping on Penn Street, for example, they might only be there for an hour. So the other place that's easy to park is the State Street lot, the State Building.
Yeah.
Lot, but that is often full.
Yes.
So then, the other one is Reed Street, but like I said, going up to the 2nd and 3rd floor, and then walking down a set of stairs that is not maintained looks horrible because it's never painted, it's rusted, it looks awful.
I had
and-
a lot of attorneys that use that, and we are not usually in sneakers coming down the steps with work.
Yeah, correct, yeah, that's also a good point, because jurors park there too. And the instructions for the jurors are not very clear as to what they have to do, so they don't have to pay for parking. So those were the three major things. If you're gonna rent spaces, don't rent them on the first floor. Because people who are coming into the city, we want to make the city usable to people who want to come down and actually purchase something. But if it's gonna take you 10 minutes to park, 15 minutes to park, you know, oftentimes if I go to the liquor store on Penn Street, and if there's not parking on Penn Street or Port Street, I'll drive out to the liquor store. I'll drive out to the liquor store up by Albright College. And it shouldn't be that way. Because there are other things that now, because Allen has the building open at 6th and Washington, and the food court is there, that donut place is fantastic. You know, you could like go to the donut place, have lunch downtown, go to the liquor store if you like, or some of the other stores that are downtown, spend an hour or two. But like I said, if it's gonna take 15-20 minutes to park because you have to go up three floors, walk down because the elevators don't work, it's not gonna work.
So if we're looking for you, donuts for the liquor store.
Yeah, that's pretty.
The bench in
That's
between.
pretty much that's pretty much my diet. So
The bench in between.
You know, I don't know if you guys know, but my background is accountant. So financial background is the reason why I have been choose to be the executive director of Parking Authority. The first thing I got when I got appointed was 2024 budget. That was the first document I got on hand. It is not a secret, the budget, because it's public document. But the budget was 643,000 deficit for 2024. So when you got any type of business, private, public business, with that kind of deficit, it's worrisome. It's like, what am I getting into? That was my first question, what I go into it. How come an authority can run with that big deficit? Security, elevators, maybe the cleaning of the garages is everything one common sense. It's homeless. Homeless is not only parking problems, the city problems. So what is my portion as a parking? What I doing? Try to solve the situation. The first is elevators. We have 3 different companies servicing our elevators, 3 different companies, which for me was a huge question mark. Why we have 3 different companies? They have some elevators with trademark that nobody else can serve except that company. So Reed & Cork is one of them. So the company that actually is doing a good service cannot service that elevator because we have to replace the car, and to replace the car of elevators, it's gonna cost over $1 million to Parking Authority. With the deficit we get in, we cannot think about replacing those elevators. We have to serve with what we can until everything gets set up. So at this moment, I mentioned security because if we don't have the proper security inside the garage, of course, we're gonna have homeless problem, sleeping, do whatever they have to do inside the garages. But now I try to invest more in security. Once again, what I'm doing is up to where I can. I cannot do magic, try to change everything at once because economic situation. So on my first 30 days, the authority, I have to make so many changes, which I don't have happy people around me because those changes. Now, those changes is kind of difficult for me to make, but one of the two, or we survive or we're sick. One of the two. So you will start seeing changes, especially with security, cleaning, elevator. We don't have the elevators problem as when I started. We try to invest as much as we can. We have so many meetings with the different companies to avoid those situations, like convention center. You know how many calls I have on the first 30 days for convention center about the elevators? So many. So I say, no, we cannot have that type of relation with the business, with the convention center. So my focus was on them. At this moment, the 3 card are working 100%. Others are working 100%. The only one we still having problem is the read and card because that situation, but we are still working on it. We're working on it. We have so many of our employees go around the garages many times to avoid homeless to stay there for the whole night. But we cannot have a 24 hours employees being in those garages. We can't. So those homeless situation is not only parking problem, it's whole city situation. So when you go to, I got one call for one customer. I believe was Reed Court. He was visiting Reed Court or Front of Washington. I can't remember which one. But the customer was a visitor from another place. Oh my God, that was a lovely letter I got from that customer. Lovely letter. Saying the type of service we're doing, all kind of, imagine anything bad, this customer sent that to me by email. So when I got that, I said, we have to change the perception. We have to make so many changes. But now our limitation is we need to clean the house. We need to have a good foundation before we start building solution where people can see those solutions. So we're still working, and I know it's a problem about those homeless situation. It's not a secret for me, so we are still working. Especially when you have how you say, the front of Washington, all the windows broken. Elevator has been vandalized. Second on Washington, window broken. So those type of things we deal in daily with those type of things. Police department cannot help us because they cannot go inside the garage. So parking authorities is looking to cover those holes with what we can. But we are still working. It's not an excuse. Forgive me if it sounds like an excuse. It's not an excuse. I just let you know the reality of parking authority. Some reality. So we're working, and for sure, I see the future so bright on parking authority, a bright future where we will not have those situations of this problem. But yes, bear with me, stay with me, and we will see those better solutions, better future, for sure.
Is the garage, is the elevator up or wall not fixed?
There is one, I believe there is one car that's still,
Last time I was
it's
there.
still closed, that's still closed.
The other one wasn't working
Yeah,
either.
either of them. The only one that used to work is the one that's boarded up now.
And I don't want to sound like, I don't like to sound like I have answer for those things. I don't want to sound like excuses. But that photo on wall, believe it or not, we was waiting for the fire department to approve the alarm system in order to have that, the Reading elevator be working on that one. And that permit take for 3 months. I have 5 months, 3 months. I have been waiting only for that permit. So
We can
little-
follow up on that. I
Yeah.
think that's,
I know a lot of times when those permits get held up, it's the company themselves are always missing like the most minute piece of information. But we have a meeting, so just so you are aware, city staff does get together every other week.
Okay.
In a communications meeting. So things like this, if any one of us are in meetings or we have an issue, it's the fire marshal, historic, planning, zoning, property maintenance, building and trades. We all get together. If we have a problem property or there's something that we're like, what can each department kind of do? So I can bring that
Please.
up.
Or you
Let's
can
see.
send me the schedule of those meetings. I will be glad to be part of it.
Yeah, those are more just like internal,
Okay.
things, just in the middle of the day, we get together for an hour. But I can definitely bring it up and
Yes.
ask the fire marshal to see, if they're missing something or, what it is, and I'll have them contact you.
Please,
Yeah.
please do that.
again, that's a building that.
And that garage is full.
No, but it's a building, if I'm coming to work to City Hall, middle of the day,
It's pretty important.
that's where I park. Again, my shoe attire, and I don't, but it's not just me, it's professionals who are coming to City Hall. So, what it looks like in operation, I think is, they're all important, I think those two, you see professionals utilizing
Yes.
more routinely. And I think, the perception, that's a perception.
Thank you for letting me know those type of things. Those little things is the one that made the difference. On our daily operation.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting us know about these interactions that with the city, with the city administration, because we do have, well, we now have a planner. And Emily's with us all the time now also. So that we can help you find solutions here
Thank you.
at City Hall, which, a few years ago probably would have never happened. Because luckily the fiefdom structure that was here at City Hall is beginning to slowly
We're slowly getting.
slowly break down. So, and that's the other thing, that the authorities were the same way. The Reading Parking Authority always thought, like, the authority board thinks that we hold up everything. No, we don't hold up everything. We have federal regulations that we have to follow. Like the Dembowski parking garage.
Yeah.
That was a lot of contention. Because the board was like, well, why don't you just give it to us? Well, no, we can't give it to you. You have to prove to us that those walls that you're using as the structure are structurally sound. You have to prove to us that the stormwater is effectively being removed. You have to prove to us these things. And these are state and federal regulations. It's not like we make this stuff up.
Gotcha.
So, it's not, there's this constant thing like hitting each authority and each section of the administration against each other, and it's happened for many years. Dates back to the time when city council, like the head of the police department was the mayor. And the head of public works was somebody else on council, and the head of,
The old form of government.
yeah, that was the old form of government. It's still, and that still persists till today. We're finally getting to the point, I believe, where it's breaking down and we're actually communicating with each other. So, you know, anything that, we have these workshop meetings every third Thursday. You are always welcome.
Thank you.
Tuesday, yeah, Tuesday. You are always welcome. Also at our regular meeting if you have anything.
Yeah.
To present.
Speaking of which, I think on the agenda is release their, some of their escrow
Oh, for the garage, yeah, I saw that.
next month.
Dembowski, 625 Big Ninth
That's what
Street.
you just signed.
That's what I just signed.
Thank you.
You signed the agreement, but the escrow releases the agenda.
I think we're gonna have it on the agenda.
Yeah.
You'll be getting some release of funds next
Thank you.
Tuesday. We
That's
can't
good.
take action tonight because it's just a workshop.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
good.
with next Tuesday, we will vote on it. We see I don't think there should be any problem with it. And I will sign it at that meeting before I leave, and then you will get that next day.
And I really appreciate everything. I came from a private sector. So for me, the public sector is new. Everything in the public sector is totally 100% new for me. So I used to all the different way how to do things. Public sector for me have been
Rules.
so many rules, regulations, so many things, but I'm willing to learn the best way. Willing to make changes if I have to. Anything I can do to serve the community better, I'm willing to do so.
Thank you so much. I want to report, Mr. Chairman, and probably the rest of the colleague. As a city administration and staff, we are very open and working with you. Although one of the things that is starting out as we go out, like last week I was out, members, the community, I think there is an aspect of attitude, especially towards customers, mainly from the staff of the parking authority. I think that is something, even though we're working on changes, that is something that you may have to address internally. Because the moment, again, like you say, if it is the first impression,
Yes.
at least a guess of an authority in Reading that is negative, then definitely that's one way of having them not come back. The second thing that is also standing out is the system. Like, for example, we're having the Park Mobile and we are having the pay machine. Personally, and a number of people have reported the aspect of those machines not working, and there is no alternative. You cannot pay cash, there is nobody, and so right there you have money you want to pay, but you are forced to receive a ticket, which is now going to be a little bit more than what it is supposed to be, simply because the system is not working. You know, such small things, as much as you're talking about, working together, it would be good for you to look at them from inside so that they are addressed, to at least to be able to clear these gaps that everyone is complaining about. I know one more thing that I can mention is that, and I don't know how you're going to deal with this, but we have a team, especially colleagues from the county who are government officials and colleagues from here as well. And they will have official meetings like these ones past working hours. These people are doing like city business. I don't know how we can handle that, but many of them have had to run to go and make sure they feed the meter and they come back, or they have to, face the ticket simply because they have no way of getting out of that. So I think there are quite a number of things. Yeah.
To kind of add about, people having cash and having it, I know the machines are there, the system is there now, there's no kind of going back. But just something to keep in mind, Reading does have an aging and aged population. My dad was lucky the one day that I was with him, and so I just paid it for him because all he had was his cash on him. He didn't realize that there was no longer an attendant. He didn't know that about all of this. All he had was like singled or what, I forgot what the issue was. But I don't know what could be implemented at this point now that the change has been made to be more cashless. But maybe keep that in mind if, you know, in your research for other ideas, if you come across any other city that's come up with an idea to kind of mitigate that problem with their older population that maybe they have a cell phone, but it's not a smartphone, so they can't do the QR code, or they don't know how to work it for the QR code. They may not have or want to use a credit card, things like that. It's just something to keep in mind.
This is a good point. We have so many vendors that we're working with because everyone loves the gateless we have on the garage. The gateless work only with calling Wi-Fi, which is the camera system, to read the plate number, and you can pay by phone, or if you have permit, it's gonna read the plate, or you get a ticket. But what if the elderly people we have already, which is more than 30%, how they're gonna be parking? So there is so many pilot program I'm working with at this moment to see how we can give the opportunity to people pay whatever they can or they want or they have cash, credit card, pay by phone, with a QR code, so many things, but cash will not be disappear. At this moment, on the lots, there is a cash option on the lot. The only problem we have is the garage. Garage doesn't have any cash option at this moment. But any meters out there, there is cash option. Actually, I look into a new meters, which can be paid with different manners, including cash. But we will see what we can do about the garage. I don't have any solution at this moment of mine, but I'm gonna look into it for the garages. And the street, yes, we have those options. Beside that, what we're doing is try to help the community or teach the community how to use our kiosk or our pay station, our meters, smart meters. So we try to do like educational programs so they can look on our website, on our social media to see how can I use those meters or those pay station. So we're working on those programs. About the perception, the community perception, you are right. We have so many people, employees, that their mentality is still behind previous administration. So parking authority was running before as a police station. So one of the first things I told our people is we are not a police. We are here to serve the community, but we are not a police. So this is something I'm working internally with our employees. You're gonna hear that from me many times. Education is the main problem we have. Internally first. So I started in house first. How to educate our people that we are customer service. That's all. We are to serve our customers the best way we can. And if any of you hear any problem with one of our patrol, our employees, please let the people call us right away, because I will not tolerate those type of things with the people. And this is something clear. They know, I already told our employees about that. We will not be tolerating abuse of, abuse of power. We will not. So please, if any resident, any people from the community say anything to you, let them call us. Let them come by me. My office is always open. I have an open policy. So they can come to me and say, this person do this or do that. It's gonna be disciplinary action.
Will, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Thank you. Appreciate the new chairman coming before us, Commissioner Bowman. Plan. I can hardly hear much. My concern was, I hope this is relevant effective. But 2 years ago, when the parking authority was targeting and aggressively for tickets, people parking in their own private property, including non-residential properties. This is how for some residential areas as well, they plan, we need to have professional plumbers or electricians or whatever, that they can be thinking in, if we give them, permission. Right, so kind of create that they appreciate it. Let's get things. Take that up. Good, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat what you said, Will. So he was just saying that, he's not sure if this is something that's still happening, but he does remember that some time ago, Reading Parking Authority was heavily targeting, people parking in driveways, particularly the property owner parking in front of their own driveway, or if they had like a tradesperson, coming in, they told him, yeah, go ahead, park in front of my driveway, but then they would get a ticket. So he's not sure if that's something that's still happening, but something to keep into consideration to kind of. When we have these issues, I guess ideas or thoughts or comments on
I
that.
believe if anyone feel like have been targeted or something like that, they should call us and express what's going on, what is their concern, and we can go from there. Because if a homeowner's call the authority, say, oh, I have someone parking in front of my pole, of course, we're gonna enforce. This is when we got those calls. But if there is some other way that they feel targeted by RPA, they should call us and let us know what is going on. They should not happen. That should not.
And so he said that, it shouldn't be happening, but if it's something that, it is, or they feel targeted any other way, they should call the RPA directly and they'll take it from there, but it's not something that should be happening.
Thank you, appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
I think on the parking side, the rules are the rules.
Yes.
And I've done security, and I understand. But I had a neighbor who on Mother's Day was helping his mother out of the house to go to a brunch or whatever, and got a ticket. So he pulled over, had the hazards on, helping her out of the house. I think that if the parking authority got out of the vehicle, said, hey, sees what's going on, it's being human. Yeah, the person was double parked, but they were helping their mother out of the house because there was nowhere to park on the street. So I said, park with them. Would have said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna drive around the block, you'll be gone, I see what's happening. You know, I have a neighbor who's elderly, who has a handicap spot, if another person with a handicap spot pulls up, there's only one on my street. So sometimes their daughter would help her out of the car into the house and then pull the car off. I think there's a level of being human, there's also enforcing the rules.
Yes.
But you have discretion, just like police do. They have a choice to give you a ticket or not, if they see the situation of being human and saying, okay. But I think a lot of times people, and I know people like this, rules the rule, you're wrong.
Yeah.
But being human, I see you helping us 80-year-old woman out down the steps, out of the house. I'll drive around the block. I know you're not doing something you shouldn't be doing. So I think that's the part that's missing a lot of times with the parking authority. So whenever you see a parking authority person behind you, it's never good. They're never giving you a candy cane for Christmas. Like, hey, you did a great park job. It's never, it's always a ticket.
Maybe they should though.
Take that.
You know, but I think that human side of it, where we all, you know, are trying to do something in a situation where they should have some discretion. And I know, you know, there's probably a ticket quoted number, whatever budget has to be, whatever. But I think that human side is being missed a lot of times. Like I said, I know a lot of security guys who will
Yes.
lose that humanity side where if you see someone, if I'm helping someone down the steps, getting to the car, that shouldn't be taken unless I'm abusing that, which a conversation a lot of times.
I think it should be, and you know what, I wanna take from you the rewards program. Rewards program, I believe there's so many things we can do. To let the people know, not only what they're doing bad. We have to reward what they're doing good. So I believe this is something we should be taking into consideration. And maybe that's gonna help us as an authority to do exactly what we have to.
Well, I know most businesses have something on their website to write in, hey, I just don't interact with one of your employees, just wanna say, Betsy did a great job, thank you for, something, then they're recognized.
Correct.
You know, even when I bought tickets, for example, for my daughter for a concert, Lil Wayne, I got an email from Ticketmaster or Santander saying, how did we do? And you could write in something, and I did, and I said, no, it was great, I dropped her off, I was there, whatever, and she had a great time, so.
I will not do that on our website. Say, how we do.
Well, you never know.
Not yet, not yet.
You will get something, and I do Yelp, I try to give as much good as I do bad.
Thank you.
I think in society in general, I think it's a great practice. I've approached moms in the grocery store like, what did my kid do? I'm like, no. I want to tell you what a great kid they are.
Yes, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
See here. Do you have anything, Nelson?
Chairman, very productive conversation. I'm glad to see that the new director of the parking authority is open to suggestions and working with us. So welcome on board.
Thank you.
Yeah, which is something that we've been trying for many years and.
Yep.
Yeah, this is like the first time it's happened. I've been here 19 years.
Wow.
So, two things I just wanted to mention, before we close. First thing, the parking app. I find, I'm actually very pleased with the parking app most of the time. The other day I couldn't get it to work for some reason when I was at the DoubleTree, but, so I had to go back up to my car and get my license plate number. But, the parking app that the parking authority uses is nice in that Washington DC uses it, Philadelphia uses it, Pittsburgh uses it.
Is it Park Mobile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that you might want to explain to people more often.
Yes.
That this is a very common app. Unlike the app that West Reading was using. They are now using mobile over there because the app they were using was this little inky dinky app that nobody else in the United States was using.
But the other thing with Park Mobile too is taking rewards. You get rewards. I have an email says, here's, I don't know, whatever towards your next. Yeah.
Yeah, that, I was going to mention that back when James was saying, well, they don't know where to park. I think if people come to Reading from these areas, like I think Allentown also uses it.
Yes.
But you know, if you've been to Philly, if you've been to Bethlehem, any of those bigger cities kind of around, if you're from there, you've been there, you're familiar with the app, you either already have created an account. I think I created my account first when I was in like Ocean City or something like that. You either created an account or you have the app on your phone already. So I think it's just part of the education should be even just about the app itself. Not necessarily, you know, we need the education about the parking authority because I'll admit a lot of people do not like the parking authority. You know, it's gonna be a lot of community relations building. But yeah, part of the education should be just about the app and say, hey, if you can use it here, you can also use it when, you know, once the train comes in, when you go to Philly, when you go to New York, if you go down to Harrisburg, different things like that. And I mean, it'll help us out and then people are, oh yeah, the parking authority is actually kind of helpful. You know,
Even local Pottstown and Phoenix will both use it.
yeah, so a lot of, like, whenever I go, I'm like, oh, okay, it's the same app. I know, El Paso, Texas uses. So,
Something that is looking to it is there's gonna be an application that the AC Pass is gonna be able to be used in those garages as well. So people that don't like to download any new app to the phone, if they have the transporter, the existing transporter, they can be using that to, 24-hour garage. So I'm looking for so many ideas, so many ways that how we can improve what we have at this moment. Actually, now in June, I have to go to one of those conventions where there is always something new to the parking. So hopefully we got something good already.
Just something to think with the Easy Pass. My firm has we have a pass, so it reads my license plate. Just make sure there's not a way it doesn't read my Easy Pass sandwich. My license
Oh.
plate, so we don't get double billed.
No, that for sure, we have to make sure that.
Yeah.
It's either one.
Does anyone have anything else? Danny's been very quiet. But
I just have one question. What made you take the job? I mean, what the heck? You must be like a person who loves punishment.
Lack of knowledge. That's the answer, lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge about parking.
I mean, the parking authority is never loved. That's, I mean, like, gosh, you have to come up with a different job at holiday parties. What do you do? I'm a dentist. The parking authority is gonna treat you.
I feel special, I feel like, not everyone would be choose to do what I'm doing, so I feel like, what different can I make, what can I do differently to make the people, more happy, so more friendly with what we have. So first thing, I didn't know anything about parking, except the park mobile, that's the only thing I knew. So when I came to parking, I say, the first thing I saw was the numbers and what it is after I signed my contract with it. So, I am a people person, so I always like to listen to people. Out of records, my passion, I am a pastor. So I'm a pastor from one local church over here in Reading. So I know when people have problems, they want to be listened. They want to be listened. So I believe when I got a challenge of Reading Parking Authority, I said, it could be an opportunity to make any difference on the city. So I believe that was my main. Thank you.
And one last question, May. Now that we're out of Act 48, is the parking authority still required to fund the general fund for the city?
Last week, we have a work group meeting here. We are still paying the city, we have to fund the city, we have to still stay doing the city payment yearly. So we're looking to see how they can help us in order to bring out to the story. So it's a conversation going on.
Okay, so in other words, since I think since the parking authority is still funding our general fund, we have to have more conversations like this.
We love to. We love to.
So, very good. Does anyone have anything else for Mr. Batista?
Just a question on vandalism. The garages that aren't being used that much, like Second Street, Third Street, Front Street, is there a practice or can it be that elevators, the doors can be closed between maybe like midnight and 5 AM, some type of, where kids aren't gonna go in and vandalize, costing money or homeless people going inside the actual elevator and,
Yeah, the problem is it's not only on the elevator, it's just like the windows have been broken so many times.
right.
So it's from outside.
But is there a way to close the elevators? Like
The
between
elevator
certain
can be
hours?
closed.
They are closed now?
They could be
They
closed.
could be closed.
They could be closed.
So somebody can go inside and do major damage.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is have more security. We're planning to have overnight security on every garage. It's gonna cost some money to the authority, but I believe security cannot have a price. I believe people, security is priority number one. Even if you park one car over there, even if we close the elevator, your car still parking over there.
Right.
Sure. So we try to see how we can help, so people can feel secure when they park on those places. Okay, so we're gonna be making some investment.
I did have a question. You had mentioned earlier that the Reading police couldn't get into the garages.
That's correct.
Why?
Because the garages is kind of private.
Okay.
It's not, they are patrolling outside, they can patrol,
Yeah.
the street. But they cannot patrol inside the garages. This is,
Have there been any conversations of having some sort of like formal agreement drawn up? And that way, you might still need to have some outside security, but, if an officer is patrolling in the area, if it's only 3-4 levels, just quick go up, come down. Have those conversations happened?
no straight conversation. They just let me know they are not part of those patrolling, so.
It
But
might also be
this is
just
a good conversation
staffing,
to
but,
start.
but yeah, I mean, if there's an opportunity to speak with them about it, maybe it's just a matter of you have to wait until they get more officers and I mean, we're short staffed on officers anyways. That could be part of it, but it'd be worth a conversation to
Oh,
see if
yes.
maybe just a formal agreement needs to be drawn up. That way it kind of takes away some of the liability
Yeah.
and stuff.
I will take that.
I actually put myself a note next time I talked to their solicitor. So I was like, why is that?
Mm.
Do you have a good solicitor? I'll go with me.
I noticed that I'm in the area of the Third Street garage, there's a window that keeps getting busted all the time. It's like they replace it, bust or replace it, so. I know on the 200 block of Penn Street, if you notice it between the sidewalk and the curb,
Mhm.
there's a whole bunch of the little bricks that are loose, they're missing. I don't think other blocks have that problem. I think some of them are actually like perfect, but the 200 block, they're loose, that's what they're using to break the windows. I had our storefront windows broken already by those loose bricks. But the loose bricks is also like a walking hazard, for anybody, whether it's any person or child or elderly person. So, and that's the first block you see when you come in. And it's the walking and they're using it for vandalism, so. I'd like to see that addressed because that's been like that for years, and I can't even, probably 2 decades. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like a lot of these issues are kind of interconnected, so I think once we
Yeah.
actually see this boom in downtown, once we actually start implementing all of these plans that we have. It's been proven that once you get more traffic, you get a lot less of these events
Yes.
happening. So it's kind of, a lot of these things have to be happening concurrently to kind of have the as close to perfect formula as you can to reduce it as close to zero as possible.
Some of it's somebody's fault, it's just the trees that they put in. It's the roots that the trees make the bricks kind of bubble and then they become loose, so that's what our problem is. 200 block.
At this moment, we're changing, we're replacing windows. And we using fiberglass instead of, good regular windows because fiberglass is a little difficult to break. It's more secure. So this is our plan to start replacing all the window, especially for this garage down there. For fiberglass.
Very good. I think this was very successful. I'm certainly surprised with some of the answers, feedback, and questions that we did today. So I think this was very good. I thank you, Mr. Batista, and we will
we hope to have you back.
Sure.
Because like I said, we meet here, but one of the things that I have on my list here is to bring in representatives from BORDA and talk about some sort of shuttle program and see if there are maybe federal monies available to do this.
Oh, yes.
And, because we did have BORDA in earlier, but we didn't talk too much about that. We were actually talking about the bus stops and things for the most part. So let's do that.
I think there was one you shared with us, Jay shared with Mr. Batista about EV parking, and I looked through the grant and there are quite a number of grants that we can utilize.
Yeah, well, that was one thing I wanted to bring up, more EV charging stations in our garages. We have one or two at the DoubleTree, but that's the only place.
Yeah, and this is belongs to Double Tree, it's not belong to RPA. So I believe this is something that I need to go into it. I start searching more information. Because that's the future. This is the future, so we cannot stay standing up until things coming up. We need to be proactive and see what we can do better. So I believe if we have the structure, we can do those stations and start building those EV stations. Now that's gonna be regulation, so.
Well, very good. Thanks again, Mr. Batista.
Thank you.
Our next meeting is, our regular meeting, for May 28th, our voting meeting. We're reviewing a number of plans that, Jerome has been working on. Is there any highlights for that meeting, Jerome?
Yeah, the Reading School District, Thomas Ford Elementary, it's their aquaponics building that they are going to be putting in. It's a sketch plan application. However, it's more than a sketch plan that all the information that they gave. But I mean, it's an exciting project for them. I mean, it's something that's not every school district has. But I mean, aquaponics or hydroponics are something that the students can learn from. Two applications which we previously looked at and approved are 138 South 8th Street. There are conditions of approval. 338 North 6th Street, which is conditions of approval. And we have 2040 Center Avenue. That's a land development plan that was required as a result of a conditional use application. Other than that, I think we still have to take action on our phase 1 and 2 amendments. And there might be other incidentals on there as well.
And anything that you have for the next meeting?
I don't say some of what we shared. We have 227 Orange Street Drive request.
The driveway request. So there was a zoning permit application that was denied, because of the placement of their proposed driveway. And so the zoning ordinance allows the planning commission to review this particular kind of request.
Correct.
Yeah,
We
so,
haven't had one of these before, so this should be.
well, it's something that, we also didn't realize that it required, that there was another avenue for it for applicants. So this is the first one I've brought forward, so I'll present all that information on Tuesday. We already have comments from Public Works on it, so.
Okay, great. And, that's the other thing. At our regular meeting, we have a representative from Public Works. So, if you have any questions, feel free to join us and we'll make time for you. If you need to talk to Public Works, that's.
There's no application that gonna be the same that was denied before. I believe we made some changes.
213. South Pleasant?
No, that's what I would like to ask, why we have been denied for, which we would love to have that.
That's a conversation with
second.
our zoning administrator.
Yeah, so beside that, there's gonna be the 905 Green Street, 900 block, and also Mulberry Street. 135 Mulberry Street. So those two applications gonna be green.
Oh, Green Street on 9th and Green.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yes.
down the street from my aunt's.
Yes, so those two applications gonna be back to you guys. Hopefully you see the changes we made in order to get approval. Because those laws, I believe, is gonna be beneficial for the community.
Yeah, that Green Street lot, I mean, they already use it as parking, so might as well make it a
Yeah.
parking lot.
Correct.
We had, my recollection is his predecessor was getting the agenda for the planning commission. Do you still get that? So if there are projects going on downtown, that you would comment on?
Oh, I mean, we could send, would you feel it's beneficial if we get any plans for downtown?
Yes, I'd
Okay.
like to know about it. It's gonna be beneficial,
Okay,
yes.
so yeah, so we can add you on the email list when we send out plans.
Please.
We still the agenda so you can see the address and follow questions, whatever you prefer, but I know that was one conversation we had started with this process.
No, that would be great.
And I still learning, so please, anything can help me out. We make my experience better in the learning process.
Okay, with that, I believe we shall adjourn. Thank you very much. This was this was very, very helpful.